We're going to take that last question over without the ringing phone in the background.
Which, if any, of the films did you draw upon for inspiration in the creation of your comic series?
Well, the first film lays down the ground rules, so it's imperative to follow that one. And but probably especially for the first two arcs, I like the third film, Dream Warriors. I took a lot from that, where the victims, rather than simply being victims, are far more proactive. They're banding together and using their abilities to try to manipulate their dream selves to make them a little bit more of a challenge for Freddy. So obviously in the first two arcs, I did a lot of that, making the victims more into fighters or warriors against Freddy. It makes for better comic books.
Your comic series seems to be almost anthological in scope and tone, similar in some ways to the Freddy's Nightmares TV series. Were you a fan of the Freddy TV series, and if so, did any of the plots or locations from that show, such as the fast food restaurant seen in the episode entitled It's a Miserable Life, play into any of the stories into your series, e.g. the fast food joint featured in issue 8?
I saw all the episodes when they aired. I haven't seen them since then. That was quite a while ago. I certainly think that the fast food episode could have made its way into my subconscious, so that I thought I was exploring new territory when I wrote the story. I'd have to see the episode again now to see how much of an influence it was. I'm hoping that it was more of an homage than a unintentional lifting of what happened in that episode.
Did you utilize any of the characters from the film series in your comic book series? Why or why not?
I wanted to, but I couldn't get a clear answer onto whether or not I would be allowed to. And I didn't want to violate any of the licensing rules by just going ahead and using them, to either try to sneak them in. So I created my own cast of characters to replace them, all new people. But I would have loved to have used some of the recurring characters from the movie series.
Were there any rules that Wildstorm or New Line Cinema made you adhere to as far as the existing mythology and backstory of Freddy in the films?
I never heard anything. I never got notes to make rewrites, and apparently none of the material was touched. It went out the way I wrote it. So, and I know New Line was very stringent about details, as they should be. They're the licensors. They own it. So I guess I had a handle on Freddy's mythology to a point where they didn't need to give me direction on it. So yeah, everything sailed through, and I never really saw the Bible or anything like that. I just rewatched all the movies, and it's all in there.
Did you sidestep the canon of the films and create your own take on the Elm Street universe?
No, I figure if you're working on a licensed property, that the licensor would prefer it, and I think the fans would prefer it if you stay within the framework laid down by the initial license. So that's what I did. I worked within the framework, and Freddy's Nightmare World is, it's a tremendous framework. It's a great playground to work in and very malleable. So I didn't see any of that as being restricting, so I went with it.
Issue 4 took us into a place we had never been before, into the dreams of Freddy himself. Talk about this issue and your inspiration for wanting to give Freddy a taste of his own medicine.
Well, I like to get into what makes characters work, and comics give you an avenue to do that, where in movies you have to tell the story and there's no diversions, but comics sort of welcome an exploration of the character. And I figure that Freddy's busy only when the Springwood teenagers are asleep. The rest of the time is downtime for Freddy. What's he doing? Does time exist for him? And I thought, well, to feed his malevolent imagination, he must have downtime. He must have sleep. He must have a way of recharging his own subconscious so that he can torment us when we are in our subconscious and at his mercy. So I just assume that there must be a time in which Freddy sleeps. And of course, during that time, he's as vulnerable as the rest of us.
Do you think the Elm Street films and novels send an empowering message to young viewers and readers? Do you think these films and comic books might have a negative impact on kids?
I don't think they have a negative impact. They're just, they're everybody likes a good scare, so I don't see anything wrong with that. And the vast majority of us can separate fantasy from reality. So, but I do see it as having a positive aspect, because if anything, if there's any lesson to be learned from Nightmare on Elm Street, it is that if you take control of your life, if you have faith in yourself, and you have the will, that you can change things. Because we see so many characters who have the ability within Freddy's world to change their circumstances in order to survive. So that's beyond the grand morality play that all of these movies are. And this whole genre is, I think that it's clear that there is a positive message, amidst all this, bloodletting and gru.
What kind of feedback did you get from Nightmare on Elm Street fans in response to your series, either positive or negative?
Reviews were good. Everybody on the internet is a critic, so the reviews were good. I sign an awful lot of copies even today. So I talk to fans at conventions, and they're always very positive, and enjoyed the series. And it did well. It sold well. I've only really heard from one negative fan, a frequent poster on my own message board. Really does not like my take on Nightmare on Elm Street and still reminds me about it. So, but he's a huge Nightmare fan. And if this makes it onto the DVD, I'm not sure if he'll be thrilled or horrified that I even referenced him.
Why was your series cut short after issue 8? Did you have plans to continue the series beyond the 8th installment?
I definitely wanted to go beyond. I had a few more arcs planned. The next arc was about a Japanese exchange student who comes to Springfield to go to high school, or I'm sorry, Springwood, who comes to Springwood to go to high school, and she's tormented by Freddy as his newest victim, and Freddy uses manga and anime imagery. And Scott Peterson and I had a manga artist lined up so that in that arc, Kevin West was going to draw, our regular series artist Kevin West was going to draw the reality scenes in Springwood, and then once we entered this nightmare world, a manga artist was going to do the art on those pages. And we were going to go wild with obviously the opportunities that something like that would offer. I was particularly looking forward to making fun of things like Pokemon. So, but it was not to be, and the series would have gone on, but somebody upstairs at Wildstorm decided they needed a change in writers, and from what I understand, the next writer never handed in any more scripts, and the book was canceled. Its last issue was issue 8, the last issue that I wrote.
If you were to continue the Freddy comic series, what would the next one be about?
Well, as I said, it was to be the Japanese exchange student, the girl from a Japanese high school coming to Springwood to attend high school and being tormented by Freddy in a world of like manga and anime inspired nightmares.
Okay.
Is that it? Okay, that's it. All right, let's go take a look at it.